What's up, everyone? Dorian D. Booma San here. I just wanted to do a quick little intro to this video that I'm about to share with you. This video goes all the way back to January of 2024. So I came out of the cult in August of 2023. So on this YouTube channel, I am sharing some of my past works when I have to keep repeating myself, and you get to see where I've come in this journey if you so care. For those of you that do, I'm glad that you are here. At the time, I was minding my manners a lot more than I do in current day, and I wasn't cussing, and it drew a very religious crowd, and it was a very judgmental crowd at times, and I felt like I was on pins and needles, and now I get to be more of myself. And for those of you that have a problem with the way that I conduct myself these days, at times when I curse too much, know that I am the one that's going to have to account for that. And if you can't handle it, then you can't handle it. It's not for you. I get it. But also know that I was still weighing a lot of things when it came to stuff like Q and Trump. And so if you see some of the old material as I put this stuff out, with the new material, you'll get to see where I'm at today. The old material, what I still think is valuable, is showing the journey and how I got here to where I am now in 2026. So this is continuing the series, Not a God of Confusion. This is episode 2, Justice. Be careful what you wish for. And so I share some more of my faith, my testimony, and I feel like I've proved myself that I can have conversation with people of other faiths or challenge my own faith. So this is where I was at that time, and I ask for your understanding. I thank you for being here. And I will catch you on the next one. Enjoy.
Do you think I'm evil, James?
Evil isn't a clinical diagnosis. Good and evil are societal constructs, effectively subjective value statements.
Do you think my victims thought I was evil?
Why is it so important that I think you're evil?
Legionum mihi nomen est, quia multi sumas.
Sorry, my Latin's a little rusty.
My name is Legion, for we are many. See, James, it's not just about you or Edward, for that matter. It's about everyone. The entire human race. All of us against all of you.
Well, you know, if that's the case, your side's not doing too well.
Do you really believe that, James?
Yeah. We've never been freer. Literacy is at an all-time high. We're working to eliminate racism, intolerance, gender inequality. People can love who they want, be who they want, do what they want. Diversity is no longer a dream. Hate speech is no longer tolerated. And politically, we're reclaiming the moral high ground.
James, I think I love you. Literacy, James. James, the average high school graduate reads at a 6th grade level. You have basketball players making $30 million a year decrying racism, all while wearing sneakers made from slave labor. Now here's something for you. Right now, your world currently has 40 million slaves. More than the Romans had at the height of their empire. You want to know the best part, though? Half of those, half, are sex slaves, James. As for hate speech, well, you want to hear some irony? We didn't even come up with that one. You did it all by yourself. Sometimes you amaze even us.
I fail to see the humor.
Bottom line is you're done. It's over, that's it. And we did it all right to your face, James. And now there's evil everywhere. And no one even cares.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Proving that we achieved our goal. Slowly, with your movies, your TV, and your media. We desensitized you. Redirected your worldview to the point that you can't even recognize evil when it's right in front of your face. More to the point, James, you can't even feel it when you're doing it. And as for winners and losers, well, that gets decided at the time of death. The exact numbers are a closely guarded secret, but there are more of you ending up in my master's house than with the enemy. A lot more, Jimmy.
A lot more. It seems pretty evident. Nefarious, speak of the devil. On the day of his scheduled execution, a convicted serial killer gets a psychiatric evaluation during which he claims he is a demon, and further claims that before their time is over, the psychiatrist will commit 3 murders of his own. Almost the entire movie made my skin crawl. Now, regardless if you believe in demons or not, believe in God, Satan, all these things being real, it's a paradigm that's coming into focus in this world. And one of the main reasons is because the people that are in most control of the media and the propaganda and the way things run in politics and government are Satanists. And that's becoming more and more clear if you just have the eyes to see. And so this episode is not a god of confusion, justice. Be careful what you wish for. This is Booma San with Painfully Beautiful Productions, and I thank you all for being here. As you can see, it's another dark and tough topic, however, necessary. The character that calls himself Legion, for we are many. Obviously, biblical references in this. Speaks a dark but ever-present truth to what is going on as we watch pedophilia being normalized. Good is labeled bad, and bad is labeled good. People being unjustly persecuted for things that are being done by the other party in a more violent and outrageous way. People that didn't even enter the Capitol on January 6th are getting many years in prison, while BLM, Antifa, and others are doing worse and more outrageous stuff and being praised for it. It is a crazy, nefarious world, and the idea of justice is the topic at hand today. If you know any of my material or any of my story, I've gone up and down with God. Watching material like this, where I stand today, is gut-wrenching, and it makes the hair on my skin stand and frightens me to the core. This movie unlocked a lot of memories and challenged a lot of the things that I'm going through in current day. And I think that parallels a lot of the people that will watch my material. When you see the human trafficking, the slavery, and the depths to which it is taking place, both right in front of our eyes and also under the surface. The fact that they, in this movie, had the kind of dialogue that spoke directly to the things that are happening today was very, very powerful, and it was well done. The idea that Rome paled in comparison to the amount of slavery today is not an understatement, regardless of whether or not the numbers they spoke in this movie are true. It could be much more than that. And in a lot of ways, it's the vast majority of humanity under debt slavery, government control, and paying taxes and their lives for a world that they're born into. The lack of freedom is a joke. The idea that we are becoming more literate and that things are getting better, gender equality, when now we don't even know how many genders there are if you listen to the mainstream media and the propaganda scientists and doctors and psychiatrists and teachers, politicians. It's frightening. And I tend to pay attention a lot to the idea of this Great Awakening versus Great Reset and this call for justice. Do we know what we are asking for when we do that? Because this movie also spoke directly to my individual life and the things that I carry that'll bring up that word that no one likes to deal with in any setting of sin. It's easy to point at the pedophiles and those that are doing harm and cry for justice. It's hard to take the log out of our own eyes in our individual lives and the way that we treat people. Do we really know what we're asking for when we cry for this justice? And I'm going to get into some pieces here, but I wanted to transition into the way that this movie made me think about my story. I worked in youth corrections, which I believe I brought up in the part 1 of this series for a time. I became a believer in Jesus Christ because I got suicidal and I started asking questions, and I found it to be way more than some magical genie, fairy, god that I thought all religions believed in, some made-up fantasy. And although I tried to treat God like a genie and it didn't work the way that I thought it was supposed to, because that was the perspective I came from, thinking it was all make-believe, fancy, make-a-wish kind of a thing. As I said in the first one, the truth never changes. It doesn't pander to you. It is what it is, regardless of what you believe. So working in youth corrections was quite the journey, considering I showed up for that interview, a very broken, medicated mess who had just gotten out of his second rehab months before. I was on mood stabilizers, antidepressants, and another drug that was argued to be used for some anxiety, but also for pain. And to be honest, I was still abusing it. And I was struggling with relapsing. And I had flip-flopped back and forth between believing in God and not believing in God, believing in God and not Jesus Christ, to being an atheist, to all this stuff, because it's just been such a frustrating ride. And I had moved from Pennsylvania directly after getting out of that rehab to go and chase another woman with the hope of love. And it failed. And I was working over in youth corrections. Like I said, I showed up for that job heavily medicated, and I didn't give a crap whether I got it. And the medication made it so I was basically a zombie. And although I was still able to conduct myself in a way where they hired me right away. And during that interview, I'm just thinking in my head, like, if you guys only knew who you're hiring. Not that I'm a bad guy, but if they knew the truth that I just got out of my second rehab and had also spent a week, maybe a year before or less, in a mental health facility for having suicidal ideations, where they took away the strings out of my shorts so that I couldn't hang myself. That level of not being okay. If they only knew. I'm working in this facility. It's been about a few months, and I witness a kid through MS-13 come into the facility and just take over. He's got all the tats. They get their tattoos based on the accomplishments that they get in their gang life, and he was high up, so immediately he went to the top of the chain. Kids were giving him their food, and he was running the place. And this was a facility with about half the group life coordinators, as they called us, but half of the prison guards in this juvenile correctional facility for youth, and half of us that were a little bit younger or of a different mindset that were trying to incorporate this new, what the hardcore OGs in there called hug a thug. So they were against it. They treated these kids like they deserve everything they get in here. They've been doing horrible things out there, and they're never going to quit. And so they're the mindset that gave up on them, and we were the mindset where we were going to try to rehabilitate them and make their lives better and try to encourage them to change their ways. While we were in there, this kid that came in that took over the facility was getting picked on by these group life coordinators that didn't respect these kids at all. I fell a little bit in the middle over time after seeing how they manipulate, and it's a tough situation, a very dark place to work in. And this kid had convinced one of the white kids, which was a smaller demographic in the facility, to beat up another white kid. And they told this kid that they were going to beat his ass if he didn't beat up this kid. And the idea was to send a message that they could do whatever they want without lifting a finger. And that kid did end up beating the crap out of this other kid, in a way where, when I saw the video, it was horrendous. I mean, it looked like he almost beat him to death. And so this kid that did that was a kid that always got picked on because he had blown up a firecracker in his hand and lost a few of his fingers. So he was already an outcast and picked on pretty much daily for that very reason. I mean, it's an obvious thing when you're missing fingers on a hand and you have a hard time keeping your mouth shut. He was a bit of a big mouth, so he got some of what was coming to him at times. But at the same time, he's getting crapped on by these kids all day, every day. So it's like, what is true justice in this world, What does a person really deserve when you know their story? So anyways, he beat this kid almost to death and got thrown into the isolation section of the youth correctional facility. And like I said, when I watched the video at first, I was pissed, and I wanted that kid to get new charges. I wanted them to come down on him, and they didn't. I don't think they like writing reports, and they don't want incidents happening in their correctional facilities. It doesn't look good on them. They probably get bad marks. When I looked up the kid who was the victim and what he had done to be in there, because he was a quiet kid and I didn't know much about him, I found out that he was in there for molesting a little girl. And so I went from wanting justice on the kid who perpetrated the act of violence to saying, screw that kid. He got what was coming to him. Justice. Now, I'm not a judge. At the time, like I said, I was back into a more I don't give an F attitude. If God exists, he doesn't give a crap about us, kind of a thing. And so I felt justice had been served, and I changed my stance. So I was dealing with this kid in the isolation unit where I ended up spending a lot of my time. And I was on a probationary, temporary 6 month, whether or not I was going to get the full-time job kind of a thing. And that's where they stuck me a lot of the time. You're doing laundry, checking on the kids that are the worst of the worst in there. At least they're doing some of the things that end up in isolation. And so there was this guy that also came into the facility that was known as Barber Bob. And he was an actual barber, and his name was Bob, and he had a crazy story where he was also missing a finger. He had actually been a biker and in a gang when he was younger, and a guy tried to stab him and kill him after a bar fight that he, Barber Bob at that time beat him up pretty good, I think at a time before that, and this guy was going to get vengeance, and he tried to stab him, so Bob lost a finger, but he also pulled out a gun and shot the guy and killed him. So Barber Bob did time, and in that time that he did in prison, the many years that he spent in there, he found Jesus Christ. So now he was coming into the facility and bringing the good news. And, working in that facility, I just, part of me, having come also from faith at times, looking at these kids, thinking like, man, they need something. So I had hoped that they would go, but hardly any of them would ever show up for Bob. But this kid that had lost his fingers to a firecracker and beat up this other kid, now in isolation, he had gotten a card that was like, Jesus loves you kind of a thing. Anyways, he put on this act and he came up to the door in the isolation unit while I was doing my checks. Every 15 minutes you got to write that they're not killing themselves and doing something that's going to harm anybody or themselves or whatever. And he comes up and he's like, D, he's like, check this out. I was saved. And he kind of had me looking at him like, are you being serious? Because he was doing a really good job of the acting. And he slid that card underneath the door, and I picked it up and I read it, and I was like, oh gosh, here we go. And then as I'm reading it and he saw my face, he just started laughing like the Joker, basically. And he thought that was so funny. At the time, I didn't have anything to do with that stuff, I had continued to ruin my life with drugs and alcohol and working in this facility and just doing it for the money, and then crumpled it up and threw it away. And then shortly after that, I ended up relapsing hardcore for the last time on October 31st, 2016. I went out, got drunk, blacked out, kind of remember a little bit, ended up in jail. And the next morning I had no idea what I had done, and I went before a judge on a TV, and I'm sitting in there with other guys that are, finding out what they did or what the sentence is so you can plead not guilty and move forward. And the judge looks at me on the screen and he's like, is this true that you work for Oregon Youth Authority? I'm sitting there, I'm like, you jerk. I'm in here with these guys and now you're outing me for working in corrections. Just one of the most humbling moments of my life. And I say yes and blah, blah. And so I end up going back to the jail cell. And luckily, none of the people that I was with in there that heard that were in my cell block. And I'm in there and I'm just, I'm thankful that I didn't have a felony because I had no idea what I had done. It was a couple misdemeanors. And I'm freaking out. And I'm in my head, like, trying to figure out how I keep ending up doing this kind of crap. And, the idea of justice. Do I deserve this? I'm not a bad person, blah, blah, blah. And freaking out. And all of a sudden, I had this spiritual experience where I just felt the warmth and love of God come over me and hug me and tell me that he's still there. He's still there. And for whatever reason, I asked if that was Jesus. And I don't know if it was. I don't know. It's just what I felt. And I hadn't thought of him for so long. And I had this instinctual thought in my head that everything was going to be all right. And now me, being a crazy dude like I am, I immediately was like, all right, God, get me out of here. I want to get out of here as fast as possible and blah, blah, blah. And it took hours and hours for them to finally release me. But when I watched this Nefarious, it reminds me of all these things that I believe, or that I've believed at one time and not. But this idea of, do we know what we're asking for when we cry for justice, came to the forefront of my mind, man. When I got out of that jail, I got on the phone with my ex-best friend, as I've maybe mentioned in videos before, but I was just like, dude, I was like, no matter what, everything's gonna be okay. And he's just like, dealing with his friend who keeps messing up. Not that he had a great record or a track record of life. I'm not trying to put the guy down and not putting judgment. It was just one of those things where he's just like, oh man, you just got out of jail. Like, now what are you gonna do? You literally just got out of rehab for the second time not long ago. It's just like, dude, what's up? And I'm like, I don't know how to say it, man, but I'm gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be all right. And I've carried that forward, and everything has not been all right. But I've stayed sober, and a lot of good things have come. And Now I'm in a situation where I get sober and I come to the awakening that Satanists are running this planet, and they're trying to enact all of their evil ways, and so many people are just falling for it, or they just aren't in the fight to even care or give it much attention, because we're a bunch of conspiracy theorists. So I'm open to all kinds of people's beliefs. I shared some stuff on Carrie Cassidy. I follow people that don't have the same beliefs as me, because I don't want to get stuck in that mindset where I'm on a team or some kind of religious situation where I know the truth and other people don't. I don't like that. I don't. But the idea of justice, and that we're like in a situation now where we're like calling for the military to step in and do something. And if you listen to some of the old timers like Phil Schneider and Bill Cooper, a lot of them were like, anytime that you see martial law and the military step in, I wouldn't be too excited about that. That means they're implementing their plan. And so what's the truth? And so anyways, to get off of my mumbling, jumbling, this idea of justice, I wanted to get into this clip that I also saw recently on the Roseanne Barr podcast with Eddie Bravo. And they go into some things that's very prevalent to what I'm talking about here. So let's go ahead and watch that.
The stuff, because you're in trouble this week. I don't know if you know this.
For what?
Because because we're smart, and we just said, hey, maybe something like Eddie just said, maybe this isn't true, maybe that isn't. And you had Anomaly on, and you talked about the book about controlled opposition, and maybe Q was controlled op. So all the Q people are pissed at you all week. I know you saw it on Twitter. So it's just like at some point you.
I think it's good every so often to readjust your reality.
Absolutely.
I mean, line up your shit and stop swallowing horse shit. Stop it.
And it might not be horseshit, but at least be open to the possibility that it is horseshit. That's all you have to do. Just check in.
Don't,
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
don't buy into anything.
Check this out. This could be like really on one level.
However, if you know anything about Q, which you don't, obviously.
Me or Eddie?
No, I'm talking to everyone within the sound of my living voice. If you know anything at all about Q, you will know that it is a military, it is run by the military intelligence, and
then that's
they have
for
a
sure.
plan that you ain't the general of. So just try to be aware of what's happening in front of your fucking stupid face first. I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking to myself.
Right.
To the people that I can't wake up. But I'm like, I love you, but if you can't see that it's more than the Great Awakening, it's the Great Unraveling. Everything's unraveling, and it's showing itself to you, and then it's on the screen and it's on the internet, and they control everything. The owners, the ones who program the Matrix, or think they do. But they actually don't.
Eddie, do you think Trump's a good guy? I wanted to ask you.
I hope he is.
What do you think, though?
I think because it really comes down to this. If he's like a fake shill, then all the stuff that's going on is acted.
Right.
I mean, are they really
No.
fake going after
Yeah.
him? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you
I
think they are going fake? You think the indictments are fake? I'm just asking.
I think they didn't even bother to read them over
but
before they signed them.
Occam's
No,
razor,
but what I'm
right?
saying, what I'm saying is,
It's just like it's a script.
But
it's
he
like
is really
script.
No,
he's really indicted
this-
by the deep state.
yeah. So it's a question of are they truly going after him or is it fake? That's
Right.
really the question.
That's what I'm asking,
And it looks
yeah.
like they're truly going after
No,
him.
Absolutely,
wait.
100%.
Or they're not truly going after him?
They are true. Well, they've been after him since day
Yeah,
one,
for sure.
or before
Absolutely.
day one.
For
Which
sure.
is why I know he's a good guy. That's my answer.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Like you said,
And
when they
he-
put the stuff on YouTube, they put the disclaimer, it's bullshit. Or it's the truth.
Totally.
The,
If they're
the
going
way they're going
after
after Trump,
somebody.
you know he's legit.
Yeah.
They wouldn't go after him if he wasn't.
He's too legit to quit.
Hey.
Yeah, but check this out.
Yeah.
What if there's the controllers above them are in this whole different realm where they're like, you know what, we need
Are
to
they from outer
reset.
space?
We
Yeah,
need
I
to
see in
reset
space.
the United States,
Okay.
and they're above the politicians. They're
Well,
way
they
above
already were.
But this is
They
just
already was
this is
doing
just
that.
my imagination. I have no
No,
idea.
they already was doing that.
So this is my imagination.
And controlling the
right?
weather and everything.
Yeah, this is the scary theory. The scary theory is there's a whole nother level that they look at the world totally different. They don't really give a fuck about countries or religions. They just look at the whole world. So maybe the plan, what if the plan is to nuke the United States constitutionally and reset? Like we need to reset that motherfucker. It got too powerful. It's running everything. Let's reset that. How do we do it? Then they go, okay, we're going to throw the left under the fucking bus. We're going to give the right all this dirt on the left.
Right.
And then that's what the cue. And then the Trump is like, for real. Trump is fighting all the dirt. He knows all the dirt and all the crap. But the level above, they don't really give a fuck about anybody. They just want, how do we get them to fight? The way we're going to get them to fight is we give legit dirt, like all that laptop stuff. We'll give it to the right, and then the right's about First Amendment, Second Amendment. Right. Let them fight, and then really promote the left is doing the craziest shit ever. Like nobody's down for dudes playing women's sports. Nobody's into that. Nobody's into that.
It's good mind control.
Well, gamblers
it is.
You know what? I was going to say, you guys won't let me finish saying this, but I should say it. And then you're watching on TV, you're trying to decipher all these millions of sound bites and info that are flowing through in every form on both sides, up, down, the middle. And
like if they're trying to reset this country, they want us to fight. So that's why we're like, it's the truth.
Right.
Q, Trump,
No, I like this.
Trump. And they're like, yeah, we gave you all
they're
that.
just fucking
so you guys
with us.
fucking fight. We blow it up. We start over.
But that's not
what
what
they're
they
doing.
told us to do.
You know
The
what I mean?
message
I'm
in
with
Q,
you.
the message in Q was love them and teach them. Do the actual research that proves. Get to the proven facts. Prove your facts. Vet your facts. Don't invest. Don't create facts. Use actual science to get the goods on these fuckers.
But that was just one side. He's saying it's this whole controlled puppet thing. That's what the Q people are probably doing, but the other side is doing the complete opposite. And the design is just that we fight, right? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
So what we do is it's all the number one mission is to get the people to embrace the military. How do we have to get them to embrace it. We can't force it upon them.
Right.
So how do you get them to embrace it?
Fight.
Man,
Right.
if that was the
But it's always
Martial
been
law.
that way.
we're looking for military tribunals.
Yeah.
We're military save us. And we got to do this through the military. It's
Right.
like, damn, they got us to really like the military.
That's scary.
You know what I mean?
I never
So
thought
I'm
about
like,
that.
what if that's the trick? Like,
That is
how do
the
we
Then
get
we're
them
in
to
fucking
embrace-
FEMA
I know. I
camps.
hope.
Okay,
I hope
no,
that's
you're
me being
wrong.
that. No,
No, but
I
let's
hope
do
I'm
it.
wrong. No, that's just a
You're
crazy
just-
theory.
no,
Crazy.
you're
But this
theory.
is the place to talk
Insane.
theory, so talk
You
theory.
just can't go there.
It's like another level. Like
It's
boom.
at the tippy tip top of the. This is like I told you about martial arts, how I perceive it, like boxing and shit. Up here in the penthouse of battle, in the focus of the mind and will to carry out your task and complete it way, the creative thing, you know what I mean, art and everything.
No, but
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm just like Eddie. I'm willing to contemplate all kinds of ideas. And while we sit here and we hope that Trump's the good guy, that he really is taking down the deep state and the New World Order, there's that possibility that at least we can imagine that maybe we're being tricked. These demons or Satan or whatever it is, whether or not they're true demons and true Satan in your world, these elite mother effers are evil as can be. They have all this knowledge from past, wars, history that they don't share with us, and they've learned from a lot of lessons. And maybe they're tricking us. And I'm willing to wonder if, by calling for justice, do we know what we're asking for? It's like, be careful what you wish for, because I don't know, man. I prescribe, as you can tell from these videos, that there is a God. There is a good force, a good creator, and that we really are on a demonic planet under the whim of the Prince of the Air. And in that case, are we being set up? Or is there going to be a time period where humanity stands up with God and fights back and gets justice? However, the other aspect of this, that this movie Nefarious brought into my world, is the idea is that we can lock up all these fools. We can put them to death, break out the guillotines and hang them and electrocute them, whatever, you know, and the demons ain't going nowhere. Satan ain't going nowhere. Most people, I won't say most, a lot of people, maybe even the majority, don't believe that he's real. They don't believe demons are real. And there ain't no talk in this that we're gonna put away, you know, Satan and the demons. So no matter what happens, it seems there's still gonna be this evil force, this magic, black, dark sorcery, satanic rituals, the drinking of adrenochrome is still gonna exist in our culture as some form, whether it's historical or there's groups of people that will once again plot against humanity. We've got to be ready for everything. There's never going to be, in this world the way that it is, with these demonic characters and this demonic mindset and this way that we've all been conditioned to just say that it's going to be this utopia, that good is going to reign for on and ever more. The other aspect of this, if you follow the Bible and you believe that what's in there leads to some form of an apocalypse at some point, that's where a lot of people are starting to say that Trump is this antichrist character that's going to do miracles and wonders and people are going to fall for it. I don't particularly prescribe to that because I think that might be later on down the road, but I'm open to these possibilities, kind of like Eddie Bravo. I hope not. I hope not. And he gets a little crazy there, like, I know. Don't take it seriously, in the sense that I don't want that to be the truth. But what are we looking at? There's so much confusion. And when you call for justice, ultimate justice is the wrath of God coming down to convict the entire world of their sins. And we're reaching into a world with truth. Now, if you believe the story of Jesus Christ, and even if you don't, it's like I said, like when I'm talking to people, I'm like, if God didn't send his only son to die for the sins of the world, and he came as truth, and we put him to death, then God missed out on the greatest story that could ever be told. Because that's exactly what would happen if God came here in the flesh, is that we would murder him and cast him away, which is what the majority of the world often does. But when people find out the truth, that there's been a plan of genocide with these jabs, that human trafficking is at these tens, if not hundreds, of millions of sex slaves, organ harvesting, abortion, demonic plans that have been unfolding on this planet, if they come awake to that, you're going to watch a world that's going to be chaos. The hope is that that's obviously been planned for, and that the good will outweigh the bad, and that we can slowly and progressively get through the veil and exist and have an opportunity with God to make humanity better than it's ever been. I'm very cautious, and while I'm more of a pessimist in my life, if I'm honest, I'm trying to be optimistic as much as possible, and I'm trying to have a high vibration attitude. But when I go back and I look at a lot of these people that have been trying to expose this for a long time, and I just don't see any answers to that, that's where I'm cautious. And that's where I want to know if we really know what we're asking for. Because if we look at our own lives, are we really ready for justice on the ultimate scale? I look at my own life and the things that I continue to struggle with, and I do prescribe to the idea that faith in Jesus Christ sets you free of that. But I also believe that God is perfect justice, and there's a mass amount of MK Ultra here. There's a mass amount of this deception and desensitization that has taken place, that is taken into account. But for those of us that dare to proclaim the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, we have such a high responsibility that I hope we know what we're asking for when we call for justice, and that I hope we're individually prepared for what's to come. And if you look at the Bible and you trace it back to the first account, according to this book, the most scrutinized in history, the one that I don't believe that these Satanists and these evil cabal demons would have the guts or the ability to hush and to quiet and manipulate to such a degree that you didn't have an opportunity to know this truth. If we go back in that book and look at the first account of murder, it's right from the start. So I know the biblical stuff, the sin, the wrath of God is a very tough one for people to digest. I get it. And like I've said, I've struggled with it all my life. And if you're in this fight and you believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, I don't believe you get there by just saying a prayer. You live it every moment of your life. The beautiful thing, like I said, through all my failures, is that He's always been there, ready to welcome me back, ready to forgive me for all that I've done. And while I struggle to forgive myself, and I see what's going on in the world, I want an end to it so bad, and yet it scares me to no end. A healthy fear of God, which I believe that movie Nefarious reinstilled in me, is where I'm at with things. And when I cry out for justice, I do believe there'll be perfect justice. God knows every hair on your head, every cell of your body, every negative influence that's been on your life, every way that you've been twisted and manipulated, whether it's by religious people, whether it's been by people that proclaim to know Jesus Christ, and yet they're out for their own glory, which is something I just went through once again with somebody that I thought was a faithful servant of God. Turned out they were just manipulating people for their own glory, whether or not they're super conscious of it or not. I do pray for justice, and I hope that I know what I'm wishing for. And I hope we're all prepared. And if you're not, do what you got to do to get right in your way, whatever that may be. For me, I'm trying to prepare for anything. And I'm trying to be aware that this nefarious world has to come to an end at some point, which means that everything that I do in my own life, everything that you do in your own life, it needs to be handled, needs to be settled. And can we do that ourselves? I can make all these videos and I can fight this fight, and then when I turn to God and say, like, look what I have, it's nothing in comparison of what I believe He has done for us. And to accept Jesus Christ as your sacrifice to take away the things that you've done in this world, in this existence, by faith, I believe is the answer. It is the way to be prepared for justice in this world. I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm sharing from my own perspective. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6:12 of the King James Version. So many truths are being unraveled, unpacked, and exposed during this time. If you haven't been in the Bible, if you haven't given it your own journey, your own discernment, I ask you to, out of love and concern, and I speak to myself as much as I'm speaking to you, because I'm trying to make sure that more and more there's less of me and more of Him. God bless you all. Thank you for being here. We will continue this series. In the next one, we're going to get more into reasons for having this faith, reasons that have been there for a long time, that have been scrutinized, and that people can turn to for more answers in this realm. When you learn answers about whether you want to call it red pilling or whatever, that you never thought were true, and you learn that they were, why not look into the higher aspects of why we're here and going through this painfully beautiful experience? I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.